Amazon AWS AppSync is a new way to make synchronous and offline capable APIs. Let's find out more. AWS AppSync is nice because of these things: real-time synchronization, offline/instant usage, and it's serverless, so it's massively scalable. Often users need to refresh the page to see if other users have made a change after the page was loaded. In GraphQL, it's pretty simple to subscribe for updates that are coming from the server. Combine this with React, where you can pretty much render any updates automatically in the browser, and you're done. All hail Amazon! AppSync can cache requests and send them later to the server. You code a fake response that is instantly provided to the client when you make a request. This has two effects. You instantly get a response when you make a request, so everything is lightning fast. And secondly, you have offline capability, so the client could make a request minutes or hours or days after you actually made the change. AppSync is also serverless. That means that instead of having a specific server somewhere in the corner that you need to sometimes upgrade to add more capacity as you get more users, instead everything is in the cloud and it just runs somewhere and is so infinitely powerful. Now let us jump right in and create an application. Now this is the Amazon AWS console. Of course, all we Yanomami people knew that already. The people who live in Amazon. So first, I want out of Ohio. I work in Ireland. Or my AWS works in Ireland. Then I will go to services. I will open AppSync. We will create an API. That is name if else branch custom schema. In sample schema, there's some pre-filled stuff. We have an API URL and our API key. In the settings page, there is authorization type. We will cover this stuff in a later episode. We see that our schema is empty. There's just some comments. I will add a data source to get data from. Data source is a source of data. Let's add a data source. New data source name. Data source shall be game, because we all are nerds and we love games. DynamoDB table. EU West 1, which is the Ireland we have here too. But there are no tables. What do? We go to DynamoDB and we create a table. Game. I will add primary key ID. I'm lazy, I don't want to think about it. Default settings. Table is being created. Back to AppSync. Why? Game. DynamoDB table. my region. We found a table. New role. I don't want to code my roles myself. Automatically generate GraphQL. I'm a professional. I don't need automatic generation. Create. We have our schema where we start adding this stuff. So type is game. And we have ID, string, that's our primary key. We have name, string. Maybe I should have used that automatic generation. Schema has two base types, query and mutation. Query is for asking data from the API, and mutation is for modifying data, like create and update and delete, and query is for getting an item or a list of items. So in query we define get game, and we can get game with the ID of the game, and that will give us a game. Mutation, we can create game with ID and name of the game. And these exclamation marks means that it's a mandatory parameter. Yes, we want all our games to have an ID and a name. Or not necessarily an ID, that could be also generated automatically in the AppSync. This will also return a game. And now our schema is valid. So we can see our data types. Go away and save. Here on the right we can see the data types. We add a resolver to the create game field. Data source is game table. There's some comments for people who don't know their stuff. So in AppSync we use these mapping templates in our resolver to take what the client gives us, we modify it somehow and give it to our data source. For example, DynamoDB will understand a request that's in this format. Now this one automatically generates an ID, so well, we can do it that way. So we save this and we take the ID from here. Then it's not required as an input to the create game API call. We save this mutation. Now it's automatically generated name and any other values for our game we want to add. This will take them and add them to a row in the game table. For the response that comes from the DynamoDB, it comes in context result and we return it back from our API as JSON. Now it looks you can't do much around here. Normally in your server you could take an API request and do anything to it and modify it in any way, put something to database, return anything to client. And usually you have these long procedures and complicated structures in the server side. In AppSync, you use the client side to do all the business logic. You can use Lambda as a data source and modify the request any way you want to and do anything, but that's not the way you usually want to go. Everything to JavaScript, that's a horrible idea. That's what I would have said a year ago, but since I've had experience with ES6, React and Babel and all that goodness, it's really nice to work with JavaScript these days. Let's save this. Success. In the main tab, we can see the API URL. Copy that. For some reason it bugs around. GraphQL Playground is just a tool to make GraphQL requests really easily without creating a client. Here you can browse the schema, but it's not visible yet because we are not authorized. Right here. Copy, paste, and here X API key header is what is needed, like so. Press here, refresh here. Try to write your query here. This is some mutation. Create game takes name as an input, and we'll have ID and name returned. As you can see, GraphQL is also context aware, so we can see all the fields pre-filled here. Okay, and we need variables. This name variable. Name, let's make it Counter-Strike source. Who wouldn't have experience with Counter-Strike source? And we got a response. Create game. It has ID, this, name, Counter-Strike source. And in the Dynamo DB items, we can see it. It's there. I was lying earlier in this episode when I said we are gonna make an application. We didn't quite have time for that, but we'll get there in a later episode. Yanomami people do not lie. We'll learn more about how the synchronization and the offline capabilities work in AppSync. When the later episode is released, please find it there.